Sitting is the new smoking. Have you heard that before? Yes. That's a phrase that's sort of been floated around for a number of years. What sort of emotions come to mind when you hear that? Shock. Okay. Anything else? Fear. Yeah. Yeah. Guilt. Okay. Bad for you. Yeah. Okay. Um, do you have any good thoughts about it? How about this one? We are an advanced civilization now, and that we're no longer worried about disease wiping out our human race or being chased down by a saber-toothed tiger. Right now, these are our problems that we're dealing with. How about that for a positive emotion? Say that again. There you go. Although I have seen people fall out of chairs. Okay. Any other thoughts about that? Anything that you have done since you've heard that or would do differently? Hearing that as a right. Okay. Okay. So you're saying that puts you in the category as a smoker? Yeah. Okay. But would does that does that itself that statement drive you or challenge you to do anything different? Okay. Well, hopefully we'll talk through a little bit about that. Specifically, of course, around the workplace and how we move and think about our day. But outside of that as well, what is your lifestyle like at home? What are you doing after you leave the office or before you come in, and things as well. So um, these are probably some statements that are not going to shock you, but there's obviously some health consequences of sitting too much, which leads folks to say things like "sitting is the new smoking." Okay, so we can run through these. So pardon a couple spelling errors. So there's an association between time spent sitting and the risks for obesity, diabetes, cardiovascular disease, um, other things, deep vein thrombosis, which are different types of like blood clots in lower extremities that often come up, metabolic syndrome. I don't know if y'all remember, if you've been in Lexington long enough, there was, I feel like it's been 10 or 15 years ago, there was like a men's health study that came out that Lexington was one of the most unhealthy cities in the country. And their rationale for that was actually incidences of deep vein thrombosis in individuals in our city. So that's how they justified our unhealthiness um, versus others. Of course, is that individuals who sit mostly at work have a 16% higher all-cause mortality risk from cardiovascular disease than those who are non-sitters at work. Okay, and then beyond that, you may just have a general increase in pain and tightness in those joints that are flexed whenever you are sitting. So think about your hips, your knees, all those sort of things, and that just may lead to uh, a desire to not want to move, because when you do, things are a little bit more achy than they might be if they were loosened up more often. Um, so higher risks for different types of disease, um, higher pain levels, things like that, from sitting more often. Okay, but there's some good news, and we'll talk a little bit more about these sort of things as we go. And some of you, does anybody have a sit stand desk or an all time standing desk? How often do you use it when you use it? Not often enough, maybe. Do you just do it whenever you think about it? Do you do it, on a regular schedule? Anybody? No? Okay. So there's some value in these sort of tools. They're going to help reduce some of the acute levels of sleepiness, drowsiness from sitting in one position too long, which in turn is going to help productivity, of course. And employers want that, which is why you may often see that a perk for different employers. Um, but also just back and body discomfort. Like I said, if you're sitting too long, you're going to get those tightness in the hips, knees, all those sort of things. And so if you're standing occasionally, you're going to be able to help alleviate some of that. And also think about your cervical alignment from sitting versus standing. If you're sitting, and really sometimes if you're standing, if you don't have that computer monitor, up at eye level, you may hunch over, have that head thrust forward. Think about maybe if you're sitting on the couch, looking at your phone or something else. Are you in this position? And so if you can get that monitor up to an eye level and want to stand up and look at it that way instead of leaning forward to look at it, that's going to help all of your cervical alignment and your overall posture, of course, as well. But there's some bad news about those standing desks, of course. There's research out there that shows that folks that sit regularly for their job um, burn fewer calories, as you could imagine, than folks who are more active for their jobs. And just having a standing desk isn't unfortunately going to help with that. In fact, they found that you're really not burning any more calories hardly than someone who is sitting regularly just by standing alone. You got to move, right? So walking for an hour is where you're going to see that improvement of that calorie burn compared to somebody who stands or is active for their job. You're not necessarily going to improve your risk for heart disease just by standing alone at your desk. Um, Again, you got to build in some movement with that. And unfortunately, just standing alone can still cause some pain and discomfort. There's high risk for things like plantar fasciitis from standing a lot. Other sorts of lower body pain may arise if you're standing static in one position and not moving. You may want to think about some sort of standing pad that you could stand on that could help sort of alleviate that problem. So I hope I didn't scare you away from using your standing desk, because there is some good news, or there's some benefit to it. However, it's not going to solve all your problems. So how do you reconcile the difference between somebody who sits primarily for their job versus somebody who's active and up and moving a lot for their job? Well, increasing leisure time, physical activity. It's been found that anybody who is not regularly active outside of work, if they just increase their physical activity by 15 minutes a day, they can level the playing field with somebody who's active for their job. Okay? Beyond that, if you are averaging, the average American gets between 4,000 and 5,000 steps per day. If you can take that up just 1,000 steps per day, again, you can level the playing field between an active person and a sitting person for their position, for their job. Okay, so two sort of basic strategies. I'm not saying those are easy. They're simple strategies, not easy, to get you as if you're sitting mostly for your job, on level playing field with somebody who's active for their job. Okay, does that make sense? Questions about that? Yeah.
So in hearing that 15 minutes of added activity a day can level the playing field between sitters and non-sitters, what's going through your minds right now? Are you thinking, oh, 15 minutes, I could blah, blah, blah. Or, oh, 15 minutes, maybe I could blah, blah, blah. Raise your hand if you're thinking, I could blah, blah, blah. Okay, good. For all of those people, congratulations. And I would encourage you then to turn that into I will blah, blah, blah. And try that for 7 days, 5 days in the work week, 2 days on the weekend, and see what happens. And for those of you that are thinking, I can't because blah, 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 or I couldn't because blah, 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 I would encourage you to keep brainstorming. There's got to be somewhere in there, and I could maybe try blah, blah, blah. So keep thinking about the possibilities, and then pick something to turn into an I will. Okay, that's my question and challenge to you all.
Right. So, what are some starting points that we can even take this a little further? Um, Many of you may know some of these guidelines that are out there. These are guidelines established by the American College of Sports Medicine and the CDC. They're basic physical activity guidelines for adults, for healthy adults, I should say. Um, so, a healthy adult between 18 and 65 years old should seek a minimum of 30 minutes of moderate intensity aerobic activity every day. You can substitute that with 20 minutes per day of vigorous intensity activity. All right, so what do you think is classified as moderate versus vigorous activity? Yep, walking compared to running. That's moderate versus vigorous. What are some other moderate levels? Swimming, yeah, could be both. Gardening, yep. Mowing, for sure, of course. Riding a bike, yep. Um, think of, raking leaves. This winter we got to do a lot of shoveling snow. That's vigorous. It wasn't my house. Felt like it was coming every day. So think about those things. Think about things that are incorporated into your day. They used to say that they, being American College of Sports Medicine and the CDC, used to say that you needed to get it in 10-minute bouts at a minimum. But they've sort of thrown that out the window and moved on from that and say anything is good. So more movement is better than no movement. So that could be, this, taking the stairs when possible. The old tricks, parking further away whenever you're at the store to get more steps in. Ways you can trick yourself to getting activity in just in a regular day-to-day lifestyle that can help you out. Beyond those things, adults should seek at least 2 days worth of strength training, and that the purpose of that is to either maintain or build muscle. At least 2 days at a minimum. Okay, and then I didn't list it on there, but ideally as well, another 2 days or another somewhere in there, 2 days worth of flexibility work is very good as well. Okay, and we're going to hit on some of that too. But beyond that, today we're specifically talking about incorporating in activity into your workplace. So, what are some options and some ways you can sort of move past that sitting primarily for work to incorporate that movement in and that activity? There's also evidence, I didn't hit on it, but there's evidence out there that shows that you can't out exercise sitting all day. So what that means is no matter how active you are outside of work, if you go to work and you sit for 8 hours straight, you can't fix the problems that are the risks that are going to come from that sitting all day by running 10 miles every night. Okay? That's a little scary, I know. So that's why we want to try to incorporate in some movement into the workday to alleviate some of those risks that we talked about. Excuse me. So what are the things that we would offer to you? The sit-to-stand desks are still great tools. Don't throw them in the trash today when you get back to your office at all. They're still going to help you, like we said, loosen those hips, loosen those knees up. However, just think about a pattern maybe. Maybe you set a timer on your phone every 15 to 30 minutes, and that's how you alter your sit-to-stand pattern a little bit. But try not to stand too much. Try not to sit too much. This is kind of like the old discussion on, is an egg healthy for you or is it not? Every year you hear something different. I don't want to tell you that you're sitting too much or that you're standing too much. Find the balance that works for you, that you can achieve. And think about where you are now. Are you sitting primarily? Could you stand for 5 minutes at a time every hour? Would that work? And then where can you build from there? Is there an opportunity to get some more steps in during the workday? Is that taking a lap around your office? Is it getting outside to get some fresh air? What does that look like for you? We talked about adding 1,000 steps to your day can level the playing field between a sitter and a stander at work. But it takes roughly 2,000 steps to walk a mile. Okay, so 2,000 steps, you can walk a mile. If you could do that in 20, 25 minutes, is that something that's an option for you during the workday, or even breaking that up into smaller chunks and doing that a couple times during the day? Lots of folks even have walking pads that they use at their desks as well. I've seen those. Those are becoming more and more popular. That's another way to get some movement in. I'm not saying it's going to be the most vigorous activity. I don't think that there's any way I could walk very vigorously and work on my computer at all. But it's a way to get some movement in for sure. And then, yeah, go ahead. Yeah, it's getting those hips and those knees moving for sure. Yep, it's movement. Absolutely. um, and then the next up, just some movement. We're going to talk a little bit more about what are some options that you can do for some movement to relieve tension, to reset your posture whenever you're sitting at your desk often. But incorporate those into your day regularly. And then that LTPA, that's your leisure time physical activity. Where are there opportunities in your day outside of the workspace to get in that physical activity to make sure you're working towards that minimum guideline that's set by the CDC and the American College of Sports Medicine around physical activity? Are you already there? Where can you add in more or start to develop a more well-rounded program that will help you work towards your goals as well? So those are the 4 things that we would encourage you to focus on a daily basis. So now we're going to talk a little bit about and give you some opportunities to practice some of those movements. And like I said, feel free to keep eating if you want to. I think there's probably still some food back there. It looks like there is. But we are going to move a little bit now, and I'm going to hand it over to Laura now.
Thank you for having us. I'm going to ask you all to stand up. So I am a posture coach, and one of the things that I want you to know about good posture is that it starts with your feet. Everybody always stands up a little straighter when I say I'm a posture coach, so it's already working. It's already working. So good posture starts with your feet. So everybody stand with your feet about hip distance apart, and stand with your big toes kind of turned toward each other like mine are, which will feel very pigeon-toed and probably really awkward for you. Good. So when our big toes are in that position, the other 4 toes are pointed straight ahead. And then what happens is if we work up the chain, now our knees are pointed straight ahead, and our hip sockets are rotated optimally in the pelvis. This is a lot of anatomy, and there is going to be a test afterwards, so take mental notes. How does that feel? Standing there in good foot posture. Feels okay? Feels weird? Feels a little okay, cool. When you start standing more, I want you to think about your foot posture. Okay, now that we're paying attention to our feet, I want you to wiggle all of your toes. Wiggle all 10 toes. And now push the big toes down and try to let the other 4 toes just kind of float and do what they want to. But push both of those big toes down like you're pressing onto a little bug with the big toes. Good. What happened when you did that? What else did you feel in your body when you push those big toes down? Okay. I feel it in my knees. I feel it where? Calves. Good. Anybody else? Okay. My back. All in good ways, right? Okay, good. The big toe is an important anchor for your posture and your lower body strength. Okay. Move around. Come out of that. Good. And then try to find it again. So see if you can do it without looking at your feet. See if it's natural yet. I still have to look at my feet after doing this for 30 years, so you might have to look too. Good. So stand in good foot posture. Wiggle your toes. Press those big toes down. Good. So you've got your foot posture nailed. A plus, everybody. Next, we're going to talk about the pelvis posture. I'm going to stand this way, and then I'll turn that way. Show me an anterior pelvic tilt where the tail is kind of sassy, and I've tilted forward. A little sassy back here. Show me that. Now show me posterior pelvic tilt. I call this the pelvis of despair. Posterior pelvic tilt. And then go back to anterior, and then go back to posterior. One more time, anterior, posterior. Now find the middle. Where's that happy medium for you? Hold that, check your feet, and we're just going to stay there for 10 seconds. Feet are engaged, big toes down, neutral pelvis, not sassy, not despair, right in the middle. What do you feel? Raise your hand. What are you feeling? Anybody want to share? How's that different than how you would normally stand? How's that different than how you feel when you sit? What's engaged? What's tight? What's getting tired? Okay, my body's more connected from my toes to my hips. Good answer. I like it. Anybody else feeling anything they want to share? My whole right hip is hurting. Okay, you come out of it then. You come out of it. Stop the exercise. Anybody else that kind of, it's tiring? Are you hurting? You feeling tight? Yeah, okay. So I want you to think about that when you're standing in line or when you're taking a sitting break. Where's my toes? Where's my pelvis? And then it's very unfamiliar for many of us. So don't stay in it for too long. Just like if I say running is good, don't go out and run 100 miles this week. Just a little bit. Okay, a little bit of posture at a time. Okay. Now let's talk about the shoulder posture. Show me your best, what you think is the best shoulder posture. Feet first, then the pelvis. Then when you're ready, just let's have a little posture Olympics here. Who's going to win the gold medal of shoulder posture? Looking good. Excellent. Very nice. Good. Awesome. Okay. So how you can come out of that, relax everything and just stand how you like. How is that, once we added the shoulders, how is that different from how you feel when you're working and sitting? Is it, or are you, do you sit like that? Maybe I should just go home now. What did you have to do to give me your best posture? What did you have to do? Relax. What else? Hold myself up. What else? Was there something you thought about? Shoulders back. Yeah, just like our mom. Shoulders back. Good. What else did you have to do? Anything else? Any other little adjustments that you had to make to get there? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Shoulders in back pocket. Hold my stomach in. Shoulders back. Lift myself up. Relax. What do all of those things have in common from a muscular standpoint? Exactly. We have to relax something and we have to squeeze something. So remember from science class, the anatomy of a muscle, it's made of positive and negative charges. This is also going to be on your test. And positive and negative charges relax and contract all day. So all 12 billion muscle fibers in your body are supposed to be sliding and gliding, relaxing and contracting all day. But when we're sitting here and this is the only muscle that's working, all of our other muscles, how many did I say there were? 76 billion, whatever. They are now stuck. And those positive and negative charges get jammed up. And now I've got headaches. Now I've got joint pain. Now I'm tired. Now I'm cranky. Now I've got all kinds of, I've got indigestion. I've got gas. I can't focus. It's because we lack that slide. When we slide that positive and negative charges, it almost acts like a battery for all of our cells and all of our organs to wake up. Okay, so when we stand in good posture and some things are relaxing and then some things are squeezing, we've plugged in that battery, and now all of our cells have more energy. Not ourselves, our cells, sorry. Okay, so show me your best Olympic posture. We're going to start with the feet. We're going to put those big toes down. We're going to find the right place for our pelvis, and then we're going to put our shoulder blades down back in our back pockets. Good. Every hour of your workday, can you stand like that for me for 1 minute? Set a timer. Have your friend text you at the top of every hour at 8:59, 9:59, 10:59. Let's see if we can get everybody to just stand in good posture for 1 minute and take some deep breaths. Make the diaphragm work. Make the abdomen work. Make the toes work. Make that pelvis work. Yeah, and this is going to get easier and easier and easier and more natural. Okay. So that's exercise number 1. Don't worry, we're not going to do very many more exercises, but I wanted you to just teach you what good posture feels like and that it has to start with the feet. Okay, so now that you're there, and if these are bothering you, feel free to stand in whatever posture you need. Do not injure yourself during the therapeutic exercises. So let's take those beautiful shoulders, let's take them out of the back pockets and take them on a little trip. Okay, so we're going to roll them around and take them on a trip on that rib cage. So they're in the back pockets, and now I want you to spread them apart, bring them up, and then put them back in the back pockets. And let's do like 5 of those. Take your hands out of your pockets, wiggle your fingers, breathe. I would love to hear some huffing and puffing. Yeah, really get the breath and the diaphragm, get as many muscles gliding and sliding as we can. And then after you've done 5, let's go the other way. So we'll bring them back. Yeah, up and around and back. So while you're standing there for 1 minute in good posture, if that's boring, you can add these shoulder rolls, 5 and 5. Okay, now let's get the legs into the game. So place both hands either on the table or on your chair. Okay, I want you to stay up nice and tall. Okay, I want each of you to be in the center of a roll of paper towels. Okay, and I want you to come up onto your tiptoes, stay in the roll of paper towels, and then come back down. Hold the chair or the table all the way up, all the way down. Your feet should be pointed straight ahead. Yep, straight ahead. Thank you. Good question. And you can kick off your shoes if that feels better. Good. Feet pointed straight ahead. Yeah. And then staying in that cylinder, what does that require you to squeeze instead of just bobbing back and forth with it? Your gluteus maximus, exactly. So think about all the muscle fibers back there that we want to be able to slide and guide. We sit on this all day and it begins to think that it's a seat cushion, but it's full of powerful slide and glide muscles. Perfect. You can stop there. So now you know standing up straight, you know shoulder rolls back, shoulder rolls forward, and you know calf raises. Okay, so we're almost at the end of this 1 minute stand-up break. I want to now do some twisting, okay? If you know that you should not be twisting, don't twist. But if you want to try twisting, I want you to just hold your arms at your sides, feet in good posture, pelvis in good posture, shoulder blades in good posture, arms at your side. And we're just going to ragdoll both arms, twist, as much as you're comfortable with. And if you know you shouldn't twist because you've got a back thing or a sciatica thing or a knee thing, don't do this one. But for the rest of us, think about all those muscles that we can slide and glide when we add a little rotation. Try to look straight ahead, don't get dizzy, and stop there. So how did you feel? How do you feel now after twisting a little? You feel a little loosened up. There are so many muscles that allow us to rotate that we don't tap into during the day. And then we go home and we try to work in the garden or even work in the kitchen or get in and out of the car, and we hurt ourselves because we've been sitting in a straight little box all day. So every top of the hour, 8:59, 9:59, 10:59, 11:59, that 1 minute, you're going to have just enough time to stand, shoulder roll forward, shoulder roll backwards, toe raises, twists. And if you're done sooner than the 1 minute is up, start at the top and do them all over again. Okay, and that is not magic. That is not magic posture exercises by any means, but I think it's doable, it's rememberable, and if y'all are doing it, nobody's going to feel silly. Nobody's going to feel like, oh God, everybody's watching me. Do it as a group, do it with a buddy so that everybody can start hacking away at that sitting as the new smoking, and start building toward I'm getting 1,000 more steps, I'm getting 15 extra minutes of activity, and I'm allowing all of my muscle cells to slide and glide the way they were designed. And that includes your heart muscle. So my heart's healthier, my brain muscle is healthier, and my musculoskeletal system is healthier, so that now I have the energy to go exercise outside of work. Okay, good. Any questions or comments on that? All right. Good. Well, I will be checking in with you guys to make sure that you're doing all your exercises, and you have Corey's contact information. If you have any questions on any of those, let us know. Okay? Good. You're welcome.
And for everybody here, I have some sweat towels in case you broke a sweat doing that. Or if you got some beans on your shirt, you can use it as a napkin. But come grab one of these. We also have information here if you're not or if not familiar with the incredible opportunity you have as city government employees to be a part of our Y family. There's information here about membership for that as well, and happy to answer questions about that as well. So thank you so much for hosting us. If there's food left, take some back to your office. So, everybody have a great day.